I don't know.
You can drag a horse to a river.
Can you make it drink? Yeah. And that's facts. Well, that's the sad thing, Brown people gotta understand, like, this isn't a situation where
we're not racing against each other.
Yeah.
Eric, bro.
Yeah.
You back.
Again.
In the booth. No women.
No women.
Get them out of here.
Estrogen free, making demands about how cold it is.
I had to turn my fan down. I had to feed a woman. I've had to bring pillows. I've had to powder my bathroom.
Yeah.
No more. Eric, I feel eternally grateful for always having you and your humble opinion about the strict code of women sit in hard chairs at this.
Yes, they do.
At this podcast.
They have it easy in every other aspect of their life, so they're gonna put their cheeks on the hardwood surface when they come in here.
And where are we at? We're at the Identity Booth. My name is Hero, and this, as always, is my co-host Eric. And we are here to identify with you guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed the last few bits of content we've had here. Eric is going to be picking the content for the next run of our videos.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know what's come out and what hasn't. If we've been wearing the same clothes for the last 3 episodes, I want you to believe that, yeah, we've stayed like this for 3 weeks and we're talking to you based on that instance. So...
But we do believe in laundering our garments.
Yes, and we have a great podcast episode about that with our past host. The link will be up in the little box, the I. Yeah. So click on that. Proud Ayla.
Yeah,
but
shout out to Ayla for coming through and putting up with 2 very, very aggressive alpha males.
Umbaku. The Jabari tribe. Yes. So, but like we've been doing a lot of talk and a lot of content, and I will say this: we have been getting so many requests for us to do another podcast on the stock market.
Okay.
Eric is the know all be all in that. A lot of people are looking at like my posts and the pictures I put it up, and I thought I made like $11 or something like that. You told me that I made close to $1,000. So I was really surprised and. I'm a beginner. I'm a novice. Eric has taught me everything I know about it, and I've just applied principles that I understand about math, is educated guessing, and just the trends of the map. Every day at 7:30, I wake up and look at the charts and make my predictions. Most people wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do this.
Some people, like me, I have an alarm set. I stay up until 1 o'clock. And I'm probably going to go to bed maybe till 2. London starts at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time. Mm-hmm. But Frankfurt, Germany opens, and that's the beginning of what we call the European session. So the market starts moving between 1 and 4 Central Standard Time. So I'm kind of looking at it. I'll doze off 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I'll see what happened at the midway point. And then 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Here we go, New York session. So... Heroes, right? Get up at 7:30. He kind of can see what's happening at night.
And for me, especially for me, I am small deal. I only have 4 orders of trade out right now, and they're all in Forex, and they're all within reason. One of them I don't have to check because it's on a yearly change. So I deal with my 3 initial trades, which is euro to dollar, and I took some big risk in the beginning. I lost $10,000 in my first day. Hurt me.
Even though that account's not a real account, it still hurts.
It still hurts, but the ante up is now that I've made $5,000 of that back.
Exactly.
And that's pretty impressive coming from a position where you don't want to learn how to lose. Yeah. So the next big wave that I see, I'm going to put in my real money, the $500 that I have in the account right now, which is really like $250 because of all the fees and everything. I got that. But I have a secret investor coming through for me.
All right.
And they believe in me. They believe in ETO. They believe in the message that we have. And they also understand innately, if I know how to do this, if I know how to make money in this, they make money in this.
Exactly.
And that is so fundamentally sound. I have never heard anything better than it because it's the principle of my thought process. And if one of us makes it, we all make it. Black people don't race against each other.
Yes.
Well, we shouldn't.
We should not. Yes.
You should not.
Unfortunately, We're not.
Unfortunately, we've been trained and kind of cultured to do it, but we're going to break that cycle. And part of breaking the cycle is let's get into that news.
Yes.
So, we got a few topics here. There's the one that's heated. Yeah. We're 4 weeks removed now from, at least 4 weeks removed now from the gun exhibition of violence, which happened in Parkland, Florida. Yeah. And we've noticed a lot of legislation, a lot of reform and a lot of change, but it hasn't been to guns. It's been to things like porn. It's been to the porn industry. It's been to things like video games. It's been to things like building in classroom shields. So, but there has been a push for that. And then the other thing we have is, of course, Baby Fingers. He's on the ones and twos as always. And also these things about the tariffs. I know you guys have probably been hearing this a lot lately. What are tariffs? We're going to tell you guys what they are and tell it how it impacts you. Eric, where you want to start? Or is there something else you want to throw in? Because we only got three. Man,
let's start at the top of the list. Let's talk about these young people with the who are survivors, I guess.
No, come on now, give them the credit. They didn't just survive.
I just don't like that term has become a blanket term. These kids experienced a horrific tragedy. And I'll give with the caveat, me and Eric are very versely divided on this topic and passionately, being rightfully so. We're entitled to our opinions. But what we're talking in reference to are the survivors of the Parkland shooting massacre. And Eric will devolve into his reasonings for it, but the question is, these kids have taken on a wave of their own. Yeah. And they've made it very difficult for people like Marco Rubio and Ryan Paul and Mitch McConnell and the likes and sorts to walk on Capitol Hill, because every time they walk out of their buildings, they are attacked, and not in the sense of physical violence, but they are pursued for questions, answers, and legislation. And in Florida, the legislative board opened up for change and reform, and even President Trump weighed in on this, saying something that's constitutional, against the Constitution, which is, let's just take the guns first and then take them to court, which is without due process. So our president isn't well versed in our rights. No shit. But Eric, tell us why these kids don't deserve the accolades that they deserve, which isn't a great one at that. Well, I don't want to take anything away from the encounter that they had. I mean, they saw somebody come in. Some of them saw someone come into their school, point a rifle at someone, and squeeze the trigger. And they watched the breath go out of someone. They watched blood leave someone's body. That is a traumatic experience that they'll never forget, and they should never have had to witness in the first place. If you watch the Identity Boost, where Hero and I broke this down and explained how ironic it is that most inner city black kids are subjected to metal detectors, random locker searches, drug dogs, pat downs, wanding when they go into school. And the question we posed, if you watched it, if not, Hero's going to post a link, you need to go back and watch it. The question Hero and I posed was, isn't it ironic that you've never heard of a mass shooting happening in an inner city black school, or probably Hispanic school for that matter, which the kids are subjected to these things we're talking about, but the suburban white kids have had Columbine, they've had Sandy Hook,
Texas Bell Tower,
and freaking UT. They've had freaking, well, I want to say Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's, it's a mixed school, but Parkland, Florida High School. So the issue that I really have, I mean, not to digress, the issue that I have with these young people is, first of all, what experience does a 16 or a 17-year-old have to tell a 30, 40, 50-year-old person, you've effed up the country? And by the way, one of the kids from Parkland, Florida did say this on the Bill Maher show. You've effed up the country. Thanks for effing up the country. And now we're gonna take over from here. You guys don't know what you're doing.
And And I'll say two things because you brought this. You quoted me on this when we were talking offline, and it was basically saying the thing that turned you off to these kids was the thing that the 5 ways to win an argument debate, which is a great video down in the I'll post it below. But the first step of winning an argument is not to insult the person you're trying to argue with, because if you insult them initially, they won't listen to you. For example, hey, fuck you. Now make sure you watch the next episode. Please don't take it to heart. But this is the tendency, that initial shock and drawback, like, what did he just say to me? Mm-hmm. That feeling has now canceled you out from whatever I want to say afterwards. And this is the same psychological effect that goes into any form of communication. Yeah. You have to have an opening bias for communication. Now, the part that I agree with these kids on is the fact that they've experienced situations that a 30 or 40 or 50-year-old person should never have to experience. Mm-hmm. Marco Rubio, God willing, will never have to witness 20 of his friends die via AR-15. Yeah. So with that being said, is it not true that these kids have grounds to be upset? Like, without them going full tilt, is this not the best option they have presented? Like, how else would you attack them? Because when the legislative grounds open for them to make a vote, Marco Rubio chose to vote on making porn a Florida health crisis versus the ownership of AR-15. Yeah, those aren't comparable.
Those aren't comparable at all, and it's shame on Marco Rubio. I mean, it's more than just a finger wag. That's really insulting, actually, to do it. It's about his constituency and him going with the... Here's a question that I would pose. He's like, while these kids may be a future voter, they're not a current voter. So who is he going to satisfy? Those who currently can vote or those who may vote for him? We already know those kids aren't going to vote for him. So why should he give a rip about them? I mean, I'm just being blunt. I'm not saying that I agree with it. Yeah. I'm not saying that's the mindset. But you got to think, these kids don't even pay into the tax basis. These kids aren't giving to his campaign. These kids aren't showing up to his office weekend and weekend. They're not showing up to his rallies. They're not showing up to his town halls. And if they do, it's only to antagonize him. So, again, the thing that shocks me the most about the kids, but I'm not very surprised, is these kids are seemingly decently brought up. But the number one thing you're going to hear on this channel, at least for me, is they're emotional. And they don't know how to control their emotions and present an argument with logic. And legislation is not going to get passed because a 17-year-old kid is pissed off that he watched somebody get shot. I'm sorry, it's too many moving parts to that. And if you really want to get something changed, unfortunately, situations like this have to happen, but there has to be a strategic way that you move. As a 17-year-old, you experience this. You getting up and shaming people is not going to move the needle one iota. What's going to move the needle is for you to take this experience and you enter the realm that you want to see changed and you change it. Okay, you have how many other young people who experience that? How about these kids get their own little coalition together, go off to school, you go be a lawyer, you go be do poli-sci, you go over here, and you infiltrate the area that you want to take over. That's how you do it. But again, nobody's telling these kids that it's an automatic emotional response, and you're not going to get change with emotional responses.
And I'm gonna push it for a second and say, even if these people aren't going into the sense of this, the reason why change isn't happening because, okay, granted, those kids don't have the experience to it, but me and you do. So I'm gonna argue on their behalf and say, I think it's fair to say that the only reason why legislative change hasn't happened is because the NRA pays $70 million to the Republican Party. Why can't there be a change for that crony capitalism that we have going on in our political system? There is no way in heck companies should have a variance to pay someone $10 million. That's how much Marco Rubio has made since 2017 to 2018. $10 million off a lobbyist. Lobbyists don't consist of Florida. They're a small fraction. In fact, they're 0.001% of the total population of Florida, which he is in charge of governing.
Yep.
So he does owe it to the people, regardless of their voting creed or political affiliation, to answer to their cries. You're not put in charge of representing people who voted for you. You're put in charge of representing people of Florida. And that is his obligation, and he has to follow through with that. And age doesn't matter. Like, people are being taken to court. Florida, Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods are being taken to court now because they have raised the age of their rifle to buy a rifle from their store. The person's not going to win because the store sets the policy. Same thing with alcohol. Just because I have alcohol in my shop doesn't mean I have to sell it to you.
Facts.
So they're not going to win these court cases. But if Marco Rubio and company had their way, those people would. And that's what I'm saying. We elected you to be the protector and server of the people.
But is that really what these politicians are?
That is what it's not about what they want to be. It's
I'm asking, is that really truly who they are, what they do?
No.
Okay, so I work at a place, and this place, they give me a paycheck every week. Who am I loyal to at the end of the day? The person who signs my check, not the person who wants me to do, quote unquote, what in their eyes the right thing. I go out to different places for this job. My loyalty is not to the place that I'm a guest in. My loyalty is to the person who signs my check. And at the end of the day, the person who signed my check has stipulations on that check. And if I don't follow the stipulations, I don't get it.
All right.
Politicians don't make money by being a politician. They make money by passing laws and commandments that benefit those who pay to put them in office. And you can't get mad at that you can get mad at that person all you want to, but at the end of the day, they don't care because you're not writing them a check, and if you did, it'll probably bounce, and it's probably not a big enough check. I mean, let's just be for real. If you want things to change, you got to get rid of you have to physically remove these people. Like, I'm not advocating for anarchy, but what I am saying, personally, in my belief, is most of these politicians, they're all on the same side, and that side is money, and you don't have enough. So either we as a group of people, if we don't like them, we have to walk into the Capitol building while they're in session, drag them out, and have a public execution. Literally, young kids, you kids in Florida, in Parkland, Florida, get your school and go get all the schools in the district. Take some buses and freaking go into City Hall. Go into the state capitol while the Congress is in session and yoke them jokers up and have a public flogging or something. Ridicule these people.
We do not advise you kill anybody.
I'm not saying kill, but I am saying publicly humiliate them. I'm not saying you can't, if no one's looking, you get a couple jabs in, kick a joker in the tooth or something. I'm not saying if it was me, I wouldn't murder someone, but I can't tell you what to do. We don't want to advocate, any kind of harmful thing. This is just, I'm talking in terms of, this is how extreme you have to be. If you want real change, you have to be that extreme in your thinking. Now, there's other ways to get rid of people that don't involve bodily harm, but you have to be so strategic about it. You can't be looking for the short-term play. You got to think of how long has this system been in place? How long has this been going on? The only way you're going to change it is you have to infiltrate.
And I agree to that extent. The medical field is a prime example. You don't get a situation where you have 36% of black males dying of treatable heart disease until you infiltrate the system. I want to become a doctor strictly to make more doctors.
Yes.
The fact that I have to say that is alarming.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's time in itself, and as we've learned, only things that are relevant are things that matter. Yeah. So let's move on and pretend like something else matters. And speaking of this, for some strange reason, steel and aluminum matter a lot now. There's a word going out that a lot of you guys haven't heard, and the word is probably tariffs.
Yeah.
They're important. Tariffs are the things that make your house, they make your car, they've made this desk, they've made this microphone, they've made this computer, they've made whatever you're watching your phone.
Yeah.
That you can use it to cook. And tariffs, alternatively, are just basically
a tax on imported goods.
Exactly.
That's it. And they don't want to use tax because it's going to alarm normal Americans. So basically, it's going to alarm middle America. And so they don't want to do that. Middle America is about 95% of the country. And if they say tax, everybody's blood pressure automatically goes up. So they put a tariff is a tax on goods imported from outside the U.S., inside the U.S.
And just to give you an example of how, because that's a great reference point. They use the word tariff so you don't think of, so they can't use the real word, which is tax. A prime example of this is when they were trying to get rid of Obamacare. And everyone lost their shit, rightfully so. But they still managed to take provisions out of Obamacare, but how did they do it? With a tax deduction, a bill. Oh, right. So they have to disguise their words because legitimately we get triggered. That's how we act as people. So with that being said, carry on. You were saying tariffs?
I mean, the thing that sucks about it really is this is all a power play by Trump and whoever.
And you think this is smart? Like, you think he's doing, not smart, but you think that him doing this is him being analytical, and I think he's just being an idiot.
I think there's him and there's people behind him, the people who put him in the position that he is. Nobody runs for president. People are handpicked and chosen to be the president. If you guys haven't been able to figure that out now, with 8 years of
Obama,
8 years of Clinton, 8 years of W,
7.5 for Clinton.
All right. True that. 8 years of B-Rock, and now we've got Trump.
Call him 12 years a slave.
Yeah, why you playing? I mean, I'm not gonna veer off, but the dude did say that
President for life.
President for life was a good thing. He hopes to do that one day, even though he said it jokingly. He was dead serious.
He was dead
serious. Don't believe that he wasn't. Anyway, so these things, like, he knows exactly what he's doing. I mean, this is a play for him. Him and his cronies win either way because.
And the crony in question is that steel mill owner who dropped a week before $600 million in stock. Mm-hmm. That should have destroyed the market in all reality, and it did. It ruptured the euro market, which is why I'm seeing an uptick. And that is a perfect analogy. My stock market reference questions are really based on Trump's tweets. When he made that tweet, I went on the market. I have my tweets alerted to Trump right now because he changes the market.
Wasn't that one of the first things I told you when we started looking at trading? I said when Trump tweets, the market moves.
Yes.
Facts. When he if he gets up and makes any public address, if he tweets anything, the market's gonna move. You can make some money.
I made $5,000 off of Trump's tweet. Period.
Off of Trump tweets.
Off of Trump tweet.
We're gonna show you how to do that later.
Follow me on this. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Hey, add identity.
Hit me up. The tariffs. So we now know why he did it. We did it because he did it. A bird in his ear, which one of his friends told him do it, so they can make more money. Basically, the imports that are coming in are stealing from the mouths of the business owners here in America. Yeah. So they want to eliminate the competition, which is you won't buy. If something's imported here and you see it costs more on the shelf, and then you look to your left and see great value, you're going to pick great value.
All day.
So with this logic being put in place, they've now implemented it into their own system. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with this to an extent because this is part of one of his promises. He made
make America great again.
Yeah, make America first. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
But what does this do to the outside world?
It isolates us from certain places. Okay, so you think... Let's talk about China for a second. Ooh. Now, what people don't know about China is China has very quietly been buying up all metals and precious metals for the last 20 years. China owns about 40% of the world's gold, but you probably didn't know that. Mm. They have gone into several African countries, like let's talk about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe was indebted to the U.S. for billions and billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. And guess who bought up their debt? China. Guess who owns 15% of the U.S. debt? China. China goes into Zimbabwe and says, yeah, we'll buy up all your debt. Only thing we want is some metal ore. We want to open up some mines, and we want to move some Chinese people in to form some colonies here in Zimbabwe. That's all we want. So you mean tell me they bought up debt for metal? Okay, so since China has all this metal, steel, aluminum, they're coming in looking for lithium. They're looking for all these metals, and because all these things are traded and sold every day on the market. And so who does it hurt? Who's one of the largest importers of goods into this country? China. It's going to hurt China's economy. And it's going to ultimately, if it hurts their economy, it hurts their money. What people don't understand is China's currency is now one of the world's reserve currencies, right behind the dollar. So it's very imperative that our country weaken their economy by any means necessary.
And that in itself is where I kind of draw a line, because they made the smart business venture to go out and buy the debt of an African country.
That's good business.
So why this impulsive?
Because what people don't know is what's going on in the country right now. You're not feeling it right now. But we went the whole Obama presidency with 0% interest rates. Trump has been in office for a year, and interest rates have went from 0 to 1.5%, and that's on top of inflation of 4% every year. So you got to think about it. In a year's time, you've got 4% plus 1.5% interest rate from the Fed, and that's a bank borrowing rate. So that is a lot of money. That means the banks are going to be tighter on money. That means the money supply is going to be tightened, and that means the cost of goods are going to go up. And that's not good for our economy, because they give us these rough estimates of like 20 trillion, but we know it's probably about 60 or 70 trillion. And we can't sustain ourselves like that. What's eventually going to have to happen is that the Fed is going to either have to stop raising interest rates or lower them, or they're going to have to do what they call quantitative easing, which is just print a bunch of money and dump it into the economy.
Why? And there's the argument to be made is self-proposed debt is also crippling us. What is self-proposed debt? It's like, for example, if every time I took $1 out of my wallet, I had to put 20 cents in there. It's my wallet. Why would I care about the debt that I take from it? When there's no more money, I can't spend any more money. So that's it. What's an example of this debt? Student loans. Yep. We use that money to educate our masses. In turn, we go out and get jobs and make more money for the government in taxes. So why why force us to pay back when ultimately our whole life we're paying you? Because that is the way that they keep you enslaved. That's the way they keep you working. Here's the thing. You're still going to work. No. But you're going to work a lot differently. You got to think about quality of life. If I don't have $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 of debt, I have a car. I'm here to tell you, or rather, I should pose this question: do you believe wiping away student debt would not make more people feel comfortable about getting a house? People would definitely get a house. But here's the thing about what people don't understand about student loans. Student loan is a debt that you can never get forgiven of. However, on your credit report, it's only accounts for about 1%. So it's not going to stop you from getting approved for a car loan or for a mortgage loan or anything like that. And so that's a big misnomer. People think that their student loan makes up a big part of their credit report. And most people's student loan... You can't be sent to jail for it. They can't imprison you for it. They can't punish you for it. And for them to even go to the extent of docking it from your pay, they have to have at least a court order for it. Yeah. Because they technically aren't. Before, they used to have access to the IRS where they could then pull your information. Oh, they still do. But they're legally now, unless they have it on file from the past record, they can't do that. So now you can report yourself. Yes. Because if you feel like you're paying too much, you can be like, I can't handle this payment.
Yes, the thing is, there. I don't want to veer off. You
Yeah.
definitely should take care of your student loans and
Please.
get them out of deferment if possible.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's not going to affect your credit
No.
much of any. But the thing is, like, if I don't have this looming debt over my head when I get done with school, I'm going to be thinking about things a lot differently. I had a friend of mine, he went to Embry-Riddle University, somebody I went to high school with. It's the number one aerospace college in the country. And he got out of school with, over $100,000 a day. He's making $1,100 a month payments. I mean, he's making a mortgage payment, and he's 22 years old. I mean, could not get a job in his field. He spent all this money for college. He's making $65,000 as a math teacher at a high school, moonlighting as a freaking photographer, just to get enough money on the side to pay his student loan debt. And he had to pay $1,100 a month for 20 years.
That's painful.
He hasn't even gotten a house yet. So he's got to, instead of getting the brand new car, you've got to get a used car, get it under a certain price, under a certain amount of mileage. It's like the used car game, if you haven't paid attention, I'm not trying to veer off too much. I'm just saying, like, the quality of life is going down and the cost of goods are going up. This used cars out here that are 5, 6, 7 years old, it costs almost as much as a new car. Like, this stuff is getting real, and you're not really paying attention to it because nobody's telling you. Yeah. But this stuff is happening. And even if you paid attention at the grocery store, go in the grocery store, take a picture of all the items you buy in 1 month, and then wait 2 months and then go back and take pictures again, and you'll be like, it went up 10 cents. It went up 20 cents.
No one pays attention to one sixth of a dollar until you have to spend $4,000. Every day, every second, every minute is counting against you, and this is ultimately the fate of a lot of people right now. There's people our age, 40 years from now, not even 40, pump it up, 60 years from now, are going to die with thousands of dollars of debt in credit cards, in student loans, in whatever, with nothing to their name. And ultimately, a lot of people like to compare it to the situation of, well, that's just the battle of life. There's only so much of one thing before it runs out. And we're here to basically tell you, wake up.
Yes.
You need to find a way to stabilize yourself.
Yes.
You need to find a way of ridding yourself of debt. Like, hit me up, because I'll give you the person that took care of my master's. Granted, I got a bunch of scholarships. And that's something else that kills me. People don't know how to look for free money out here no more.
Yeah.
If you are white, you can get scholarships to pay for school now. That's how great it is.
Yes.
Like, before you used to struggle, hey, you're black, we might not have money for you. You're black and you're paying for school, you're doing something wrong. Like, there are people out there who are looking to give their money away. Because Uncle Sam, I'd rather give my money to a college kid than Uncle Sam.
Facts.
And when I filed my taxes this year, I had the ability to deduct $4,000. How? I have no kids. I have no cars. I mean, I have a car. No kids, no house, no nothing. Like, what am I writing on my taxes that allow me to give, for the government to say, you have $4,000 of deduction? One, I itemize. I don't just go to some taxpayer dude and let them do it and give me the bare minimum. You have to be well invested in yourself and truly understand what it takes for you to survive. Like, you buy equivocally to your needs. I have a particular set of jobs that requires me to deal with DNA and pathogens that I can't put this into a normal washer or dryer and guarantee that it's sterilized. So I bought a custom washer and dryer. That was $2,000. I could write off on my taxes. Yeah. You guys have to actively look for these things, but part of the growth and part of understanding is getting more on this. And me and Eric are going to do one video for sure about this market again. It's been one of the most requested videos, and it's probably because I've been talking a lot about it on Facebook.
And then for a fact, I'm going to get on there. I'm going to get on there and start posting stuff I do. I just got a screen recorder. So I'm going to start probably doing stuff on my phone, just doing little things and showing people, hey, this is how, different things, there's different ways to be able to track the money of the world. That's the thing that no regular person knows. That, hey, I can get on the on the interwebs. I can go 2 or 3 sites and I can see what the interest rate for Russia and China and the U.S. and Japan and Switzerland are, and I can see what their GDP is, and I can see what their net spending was. I can see how much their government spending. I can see their unemployment rates. I can see all these things, and I can even see a breakdown of each industry in those companies, and I can be able to tell where I need to trade or how I need to trade. Like, these things exist, but you just got to know, and that's what Hero and I are here to help you guys see. So, and the reason why you got to do this is because you see all this stuff going on in the world. America's in such a crucial moment where we could be like Zimbabwe or Greece or Cyprus. And if you don't know what happened in those countries, I'm telling you to Google what happened to Greece's money, what happened to Cyprus's money, what happened to Zimbabwe's money, Vietnam, Indonesia. There's a lot of countries. If you Google all these things, you'll find out what happened to their currency could very well happen to the U.S. currency. And so you have to guard yourself against that.
And what we're seeing is the ballooning effect of it. Mm-hmm. Pay attention to the transit pattern. This week, they're gonna go to the legislative and sign a bill to give the banks the ability to do the Proc 1 agenda, which is basically, if you were around, if you've seen not Wolf of Wall Street, but
oh yeah, you're talking about with my guy from
Christian Bale's in it,
and my dude from The Office.
Yes,
it's called it came out
something. I gotta look it up.
The Big Short.
The Big Short.
That was a great movie.
Great movie. Go watch The Big Short. It's on Netflix right now. Yeah. I saw it, and also Luke Cage trailer just dropped today, y'all. Get your money, black man. Get your money.
Get your money.
If you've seen this, go back and watch that trailer. You'll know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But basically, it's the myth of the legend, which is The Big Short eloquently stated at the end of the movie that this would happen again. And they gave a list of how it would happen. And they basically said the banks would start to give up their rights and regulations. They would become too small to handle. And they would basically then turn around and say, we can't give away any money and loans and all of this because we don't have enough in-house money. Why don't we have enough in-house money? Because we give our money to other countries and we use credit cards. This dollar, which I've had since 2012, is the only dollar that's ever keep. Think about that statement for a second. 2012. I've never kept anything more than this dollar in my wallet. Now, granted, I'll take out cash deposits and shit like that for, birthday cards or something like that. But I don't keep cash in my wallet. And that is a problem, that I don't keep cash anymore. Why? Because all my things are controlled by a phone, by a credit card. I could go up and put my watch next to a damn price register and pay for stuff. So invisible money doesn't work in the market, though. In the market, you still need to have a physical entity. It's called collateral.
It is.
Collateral cannot be kept on file, cannot be stored. It needs to be physical. Mm-hmm. So now that the banks don't have any collateral, they're going to ask for a bailout. And part of that not necessarily a bailout, but
that's exactly what's going to happen.
A filling, which is basically saying, give us this much clout and we'll start loaning money out to people again like we always did. Mm-hmm. But they don't. They get that clout, they take all the money, and then when everyone is bailing or not paying, making the payments, they say, look what happened. Mm-hmm. We gave this money away and no one's paying us. Yep. History then goes on and repeats itself. So learn to catch the wave. Bank of America and Wells Fargo. Bank of America's paperwork is coming out, find out they're not giving black people loans anymore. They've dropped their loan percentage by 23%. What else is fuck you?
I don't like Bank of America anyway. I mean, my wife has an account with them, but I've never been a fan of them. Wells Fargo, we already.
You hear that, Shawnee? The one thing he doesn't like about you is your bank account.
No, she hits that bank account too. So
I said it.
We just do it because we've had it for a long time. We have a credit card open with them, and we're not going to close out the credit card account because usage rate. That's a whole nother episode to get into. Usage and then the actual amount of open credit that you have. We're not going to close off a credit account because they're a trash bag bank.
And that's ultimately what business comes down to. You can be trash bag and still valued. And with that notion being said, that people you ever meet a douchebag and wonder how the heck he's getting along so far in life? Because just being a bad person doesn't mean you're not going to suffer bad consequences.
Yeah.
But other than that, What else we got, Eric?
I mean, really, that was really it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we just want to keep people aware. This is one of those episodes where we just go in, and this is more of a warning. People are gonna go back and look at this in 2 or 3 years and be like, "Yo, Hero and Eric were on it." Then they're gonna be like, "How can we find Hero and Eric now?" I was like, "No, because Hero and Eric ain't gonna be living full time in this country. We'll be somewhere else, sipping Mai Tais." and playing dominoes. I'm telling you right now, with my smoking hot wife, and whatever babe Hero got on his own.
Sliding in the DMs, it's not too late.
It's never too late.
But I mean, for all intents and purposes, that's been the show, guys. We've definitely been structured a lot more, but for this show, for sure, me and Eric definitely loosened up a little bit on the time and just talking heart. But I appreciate you guys coming through. Eric, where can we find us?
At the Identity Boo. On Instagram, Identity Boo, on Facebook. Shout out to the new cameraman. We got to point over there. We doing things. We switching it up. We trying to give y'all a full scope. So yeah,
our best sides.
Yeah,
our best sides. I appreciate you guys so much. This has been the Identity Booth. Great co-host as always, Eric with the ones and twos and the knowledge for the numbers and the charts. And I am here as always, Hero. We appreciate you guys identifying with us as we identify with you. We'll be reaching out to some more guests. Me and Eric will soon be at a few locations. We'll keep it under wraps until we get it official. But we're going to be making some rounds. We're going to be doing some things. But I appreciate you guys watching this. Check out our other content and our other videos. If you like what you've seen here, please like, share, and subscribe. Share it with a friend. Share it with an enemy. Share it with someone you don't know. This has been the Identity Booth. Take care. Woo!